welcome from Sheffield Hallam University.
And a huge and warm welcome from the University of Sheffield Chaplaincy Centre. We now hand over to Rachel, who is our performance poet for today and for Friday.
Oh. And I wanted to also welcome Komal Bir and John from the Sheffield Indian Music Ensemble as well. Welcome to you.
Good evening. It's my honour to be here this evening to take part in a conversation about such important issues. The issues of our time. Sanctuary, hostility, hospitality, responsibility, equality, belonging. The poem I will read this evening is called Water Birth. It's the poem at the front of your conference handbook if you want to follow. But first I'd like to talk about another poem, also in the front of the handbook. This poem is called Grapes in My Father's Yard. It's a collaborative poem written by a group of migrants I worked with, a poem which was written over a series of workshops, which includes 6 languages, and in which the central line, I want to belong, is captured. It's a poem that goes right to the heart of the issues we'll be exploring together this week, about sanctuary and about Sheffield. And I look forward to continuing the conversation with you all. So the badges that you've been given and that some of you will be wearing and that hopefully we'll be wearing together contain fragments from this poem, as well as from my poem, Water Birth. Words that we share with you, which now become yours, for you to weave into your own stories, thoughts, pleas, prayers, promises, demands. Lost between grammars, push against this wave. Embrace me, Sheffield. Just a bit of peace, please. But the poem now that I'll read is called Water Birth. This is a poem written for the babies born in the Mediterranean Sea, while their mothers were trying to reach a place of safety. It's a poem I've written as an ally. It's a poem that speaks to the complexity of being human, which insists on this, against the dehumanizing and cruel language that surrounds us from the media and the government. In April this year, over 100 people drowned in the central Mediterranean, while 130 people were intercepted and forcibly returned to Libyan detention centres. Last month, Médecins Sans Frontières boats rescued 470 people from 7 boats in distress. The Maltese and Italian authorities remained inactive and silent, ignoring requests for a port of safety. So I think these figures are really hard to comprehend. I find them hard to comprehend, and the stories mostly don't make the newspapers, at least not here in the UK. But it's my hope by that insisting on empathy, on speaking up, on not staying quiet, on connecting together in spaces just like this, that we can change that working together, we can work towards a kinder, more humane, more equal, more just world. So I'm really happy to talk to anybody about the poem in the coming week and about the issues which arise as we continue to explore these difficult issues together. So I'm just going to adjust this. So here's my poem, my offering. Water Birth. Nobody wants to be born at sea, but I'm a midwife. Squeeze my hand, that's it. We've got this girl. She squats. Not time to push. Bile rises with the swell. Breathe through the surge, keep your head. The baby's well positioned, head down, curled and smooth like a sea-soaked pebble. That's it. Keep breathing. Squeeze those ice packs in your hands. Let's cool those bruises down. I push hair from my eyes. Scrap of girl. Clothes soaked in petrol. The girls had been shoved in a dinghy, heads barely covered, then pushed off from shore in a sea coffin. We hauled her up, women's hands helped from behind. We hold our breath now for the baby. I say keep breathing, but English means nothing to this girl. We need Arabic for breathe and girl and hand. The translator's sick as a dog, headed up for fresh air on deck. The sea swells, nearly time to push, but now she's trying not to push, juddering through breaths of thick fog, sick pea soup, and the sea fires swallowing it all, burning this girl up so she blazes. When the head crowns she grips, scorches my hand, I make a cave of her face with my hands and tell her, yes, it is time to push, it is time, I can see the head, so push now. Nearly there, breathe through closed lips, and yes, girl, push against this wave, against this sea that would swallow us all. Head out, final push, and in my hands now, a breathing girl, a beautiful girl, a salt pearl birthed at sea. Thank you.
Welcome to Sheffield in Europe. Yes, we are in Europe. And what an amazing Europe we find ourselves in, an immensely diverse Europe, an Afro-European Europe, a many times conflict-ridden Europe that shares a whole sea with Africa and the Middle East and adjoins Asia, and where so many peoples and their cultures and traditions and technologies and ideas reside.
Welcome to a city of trees. If you don't know, that is not in the script, so, where inequality is still present, even in our public institutions, even now in this city. Like so many others, there are many of us who resist injustice. We are resistant to hate. We are resistant to racism. And we are resistant to hatred. Thank you.
Welcome to a city that has struggled for emancipation and has at times helped form early liberation movement for religion freedom, for trade unionism, for women's suffrage and liberation, for anti-slavery emancipation.
Welcome to a city that has been at times less successful in the vested interests of the slave masters, boxing people in and making children work in the steel mills and the mines. And those same steel factories continuing to make the plantation hoes that were used by tens of thousands and more enslaved people in North America and the Caribbean. No reparations could ever be enough, and the actions so far embarrassingly minimal. Until 6 years ago, compensation payments were still being paid for loss of income to wealthy Sheffield estates whose slaves were freed.
Sanctuary and Sheffield. A city of sanctuary, people have come to Sheffield and continue to come to seek refuge. In the last 20 years, significant numbers have been welcomed from Afghanistan, from Syria and Yemen, and from DRC together with those whose religious identity is treated in their homeland. For instance, Baha'is from Iran and many other places besides. This year we have welcomed many feeling Ukraine.
Universities of Sanctuary. Our local and many national public universities aspire to be places of sanctuary and have made a national network of university staff, lecturers, academics and students, working together to make higher education institutions places of safety, solidarity and empowerment for people seeking sanctuary.
A conference as a sanctuary. We have big questions to ponder here at our conference, and so we need big enough space, a sanctuary, or maybe several sanctuaries, where we can choose to think and work and love, pray, contemplate, enter, where we can choose to make peace, not war, together.
A courageous enough sanctuary. The questions are big. Let's make the sanctuaries of this conference big enough, brave enough, courageous enough, so we can dare to ask, what kind of sanctuaries can be created between people of belief, no belief, and religious life? What kind of sanctuaries can be created in the midst of the many global emergencies, pandemic emergencies, conflict emergencies, climate emergencies? What kind of sanctuaries can be created when our differences and disagreements might drive us into a different and more frightening space altogether? What kind of force, energy and commitment do we need to hold sanctuary and not lose sight of the peace, of the needs of the people, the species and the planet?
The Sanctuary of the Crucible Pot. The crucible pot is a clay pot which is heated to 1600 degrees to make steel. The crucible pot, which is also the conference logo, is a symbol of Sheffield, a symbol of steel manufacture here, a symbol of the melting pot of communities that call this place home. The crucible pot itself, however, was not a Sheffield invention. There is a long history of people's ideas travelling across the world to Sheffield. It was information about steel production from South India, Sri Lanka, Central Asia and China in printed books. Sheffielder Benjamin Huntsman, one of the first steel producers in Europe in 1740, had all the right equipment and water power to hand to give it a try up north. Sheffield has always connected itself to a wider world, and in a tiny way we do this with the inter-religious world now via the conference.
Chaplaincy as midwifery. This could be a helpful metaphor to consider as we gather at the start of this conference. We heard in the poem Water Birth of how a person helps another to give birth in the most precarious circumstances. We may write on these papers the names of people, places and situations onto our original paper that we want to bring safely to a new shore, or something we wish to help to bring to birth in the activity about to begin. But first some music. instruction for how to vote. So today, and there's